every one of the Republicans in Congress has not stood up and said this is inappropriate.
That is Democratic Congressman John Yarmuth in an interview with me just a few minutes ago. Well, join me right now, Democratic Congressman Steve Cohen of Tennessee, who introduced the House version of a bill to protect Special Counsel Robert Mueller. This addition to articles of impeachment, which include, of course, obstruction of justice. And the congressman is a member of the Judiciary Committee. So glad to see you here front and center in studio. It's great fun to have you. The question, just straight out of the gate, did the president obstruct justice by ordering the firing of Mueller?
I believe he did by firing James Comey, and if he ordered the firing of Mueller, I presume he did. I believe the New York Times, and that's kind of one of my Bibles, not that NBC isn't another one. He did it again, and he'll do it again and again, because that's his MO. But
there's no reaction yet from the House Speaker Paul Ryan, nor from Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, anything on Trump's attempts to fire Mueller. So does that indicate to you the kind of uphill battle it will take to get Congress on board with the kind of legislation that you're proposing?
It's going to be difficult. Walter Jones is a co-sponsor in the House. Our bill is both bicameral and bipartisan in both the House and the Senate, and it's the most likely bill that could move. I had brought it up to leadership in December when I was fearful that he might be fired, and leadership decided not to push it forward. We couldn't get a hearing on it, but we could have brought it to the floor and taken a tactical move and tried to get them not to support it and show they weren't on record of supporting Mueller. Mueller is in jeopardy because, I mean, what does Trump do but fire people?
But do you really think he's in jeopardy after Comey? I mean, does the president not understand the whirlwind, the vortex that he would be at the epicenter of if he actually fired Mueller?
Well, I think his staff, I think McGahn, and I think his attorney, Ty Cobb, have told him that. I think they've kept him on a leash for a while, but he's a bulldog, and it's hard to keep him on a leash, and he likes to be the epicenter, sometimes even if it's bad for him.
Do you think, in terms of the likely scenario, does the president speak under oath to Robert Mueller?
I think that I would advise him against doing that if I was an attorney, because I think he would break the world's record for perjury. He would get in the Guinness Book of Records for most perjured statements ever issued by a human being.
But he tends to listen to his attorneys. So if that is the kind of advice they're giving to him for fear of reasons that you've just articulated there, do you think he doesn't go in front of Robert Mueller under oath?
I don't think he will. I mean, he says stuff and then he says something else. And the bottom line is he listens to who speaks to him last. He likes to be liked. He agrees with people. He goes, yeah, and he agrees. And then he determines what's last. I don't think he'll go under oath. But Robert Mueller could call him before a grand jury, and he's got no choice.
As you know, Senate Judiciary Chairman Chuck Grassley says he plans to release a redacted version of Donald Trump Jr.'s interview with that committee. How much do you think we will get from that? What do you think the reaction will be from that?
Well, I saw, I don't know if it was Senator Blumenthal or who, but somebody, the Democratic member of Congress, said it would be shocking to people what they would see. So I think there will be some facts that come out that will open some people's eyes. I think when all the information comes out that Robert Mueller has and that the committees have heard, I think that even Republicans will have their eyes open and say Russia was involved in our election, and that's the reason why Donald Trump is president. And as John Lewis said before the inauguration last year when he didn't go, he is not a legitimate president, and I agree with John Lewis. John Lewis isn't always right, but there's nobody more saintly in our society or certainly our Congress than John Lewis, and I agree with him. He's a man of rectitude, and he sees the truth when other people don't.
Yeah, that was quite an extraordinary move when he boycotted that inauguration.
And I joined him, and so did John Yarmuth.
Yes, that's true. That's right. Let's go to the White House's immigration proposal. That would give nearly 2 million DACA recipients a path to citizenship, but in exchange for a fair amount, which those people like you and Congress may not agree with, to include $25 billion to support for the wall. How much are you willing to give up in order to protect DACA and find a path for the dreamers?
We might have to give up something, but I don't think I think that's too much. You know, today is Remembrance of the Holocaust Day, and when you think about the Holocaust and we remember the victims, they're victims of all oppression and victims of all type of genocides, as well as not just the Holocaust. It should bring to bear. And Jewish people needed a refuge, and they didn't get it in the 30s and 40s, even here. The St. Louis was sent away. People died. And we should remember that. We should remember what happened in history so we don't repeat it. And America should be opening its arms to people who are in political danger, not building walls. We've got a wall in Fenway Park, and that's enough. And it probably keeps as many Mexicans out of the left field as the wall in Mexico would keep Mexicans out of America. The immigration from there, illegal immigration, is down to a record low. There are other ways to protect the wall. Security, protect the country. There's security measures that you can use with electronics, with drones and other things that aren't costly and as expensive and damaging to the environment. I read something about the gray wolves today. I'm an animal person. But it's $25 billion to satisfy Trump. But you're not going to say, let's get back to the reality, Alex. Who's going to build the wall? The Mexicans. Right. They're going to pay for the wall. He lied.
Right. Just very quickly, when you hear that he's asking for $25 billion, but isn't it Mexico who's supposed to pay for it? Do you just shake your head?
Well, it's amazing because that was his whole campaign promise.
Right.
That's what he did, was Mexico's going to pay for the wall. Now it's going to be the Democrats are going to have to vote for it to build this wall. And people have forgotten the fact that it was supposed to be a free wall.
Well, I'm glad you've brought that up for when to be reminded of. Steve Cohen, it's good